In the previous video of this series, I showed you how to begin creating a custom theme for RadScheduler by using the control default theme as a base. We looked at the components of RadScheduler and created a theme for RadScrollbar used within RadScheduler. In this video, we'll continue the process of creating a theme by styling RadScheduler itself. Let's get started. So I already have a copy of Visual Style Builder open, but I need to load the theme that I created last time. So I'm going to go to File, Open Package, and here is the theme I created last time, the smoke theme. So I'll select that and click Open. And now that I've opened that, I'm actually just going to scroll down, and if we go to RadScrollbar, we can take a look at the theme I created last time specific to RadScrollbar. But today we're actually going to be creating a theme for RadScheduler. So I'm going to select that control and we'll expand into it. And I'm actually going to just resize it so it works a little bit better within our designer and the scope, or our resolution that we're currently working with as well. So let's start modifying the theme for RadScheduler by changing its background color. And that's going to change this area right here and this area right here. And as you can see, I have my colors text file open that I created last time that contains some of the colors I used in RadScrollbar. So the background is actually going to be on the RadScheduler control itself, and then the element is going to be root rad element, and as you can see there's only one element state for that, the default state. Now we could look at the applied repositories, but as you can see there is no fill repository being applied. The fill color is actually being applied directly to the RadScheduler itself, and that's kind of a gotcha. If you haven't seen that before, you can actually apply styles directly to the controls. So if we expand into the element tree or into the properties view for the RadScheduler, as you can see, it has a background color. And the background color actually has this little box next to it with a black outline, and that means the style has been applied to this control through this local property setting. If we look a little bit further down, as you can see, the font has a box next to it as well, but it does not have a black outline, and that basically means that the font has been applied through a repository item. And if we look at the repositories, as you can see, the font repositories have been applied to this particular area of the control. So now that we're in here, let's go ahead and change the background color. I'm going to use the background color I specified for the RadScrollbar last time, so I'll go ahead and copy that, and let's paste it into the background color for RadScheduler. And as you can see, it automatically applied it to that area of RadScheduler, and that's all it takes to change the background color. So now let's move on and start working with the cells of RadScheduler, one of the primary components of RadScheduler. So to begin doing that, I'm going to switch to the scheduler cell element of RadScheduler, and as you can see, the scheduler cell actually contains several different states, so we'll need to modify every single one of these states to get the look that we're going for. I'm going to start by modifying the background color of our cells. So I'm going to select the scheduler cell element, and as you can see, two repositories have been applied, a fill color and a border. So let's start by modifying the fill color. So I'm going to jump in and edit this repository item, and let's switch this to kind of a lighter gray color. So we'll select that and click OK. And I'm going to actually copy this out and I'll paste it into my text file. So this is going to be one of my background colors. This is going to be my lighter background. And paste that in there. And now I'll click OK. And as you can see, it's applied that background color to all of my cells. So the next thing we need to do is change the border color. As you can see, the border is actually kind of a lighter blue, has a lighter blue color for the upper and lower border. Meanwhile, the right and left border of the cells is kind of a darker blue color. So let's go ahead and change those now. So I'm actually going to change the element state so we can begin changing the border. And I'm going to switch to the is whole hour element state. And let's open up the scheduler cell's whole hour border and modify it. So as you can see, here's the lighter blue and upper and lower colors, and the darker blue left and right border colors. And the border style being applied is the four borders box style. and that basically applies these colors right here. So we're going to be modifying these. So I'm going to start with this inner border color I have here in my text file, and if we scroll down, here we can see the border colors in our property grid. So I'm going to paste in my inner border color to this, and it's kind of a darker gray, and then let's modify the outer border as well, and we're going to make it kind of a lighter gray. So I'm going to paste that in to start with, and let's transition this down a little bit so it's kind of a lighter gray color. And now I'll just copy that and paste it into the top color as well, and I'm going to actually save this to my file as well, and this is going to be just another generic border color that I'll use. So click OK now, and as you can see, it's applied those border colors to all of the cells inside of my RadScheduler. So now that we know a little bit about working with the cell background and border colors, let's go ahead and modify the mouse over color. So as you can see, as I mouse over the cells currently, it's turning kind of a bright yellow color. Well, let's go ahead and change that to kind of a grayish, darker blue color. So to do that, I'm going to switch to the mouse over state for our cell, and let's modify the scheduler cell mouse overfill repository. So I'll jump into that, and let's jump into its background color, and I'm going to specify kind of a blue color, and let's go with like a kind of a darker grayish blue, and I'll select OK. And I'm actually going to copy this and we'll paste it into my text file again, and we'll just say that this is the cell hover color. So I'll click OK now, and as you can see, when I hover over the cells, they change to a nice blue background color, but the border still remains kind of a yellowish orange color. So let's go ahead and change that now. So I'm going to jump into the scheduler cell mouse over border repository, and let's use one of my colors for borders that I have saved currently for this, and I'm going to apply that color to the left and right borders, and then for the top and bottom, let's kind of go with our other border color. So I'm actually just going to copy this border color in, we'll paste it there, and then we'll paste it to the top color as well, and click OK. Now when we hover over our cells, the border being applied actually blends in with the border that has already been applied to the background, so we don't see any differing color in our borders. We can actually just see that the cell is simply highlighted in a blue color. The next thing I want to show you how to do is, as you can see, when I actually click and select cells, they're still turning a yellowish color. Well, I want to apply a different color for that. Let's apply kind of I guess a lighter or maybe even a darker blue that shows that those cells have been highlighted, so it fits in better with our overall theme. So to do that, I'm going to jump into the scheduler cell element selected state, and as you can see, there's a selected fill repository. So we'll just jump into this repository, and let's change it to kind of a lighter blue. So I'm going to start with my cell hover color, paste that in there, and then let's just modify it so that it kind of highlights our cells in a little bit of a lighter blue color. So I'll click OK, and let's copy this and paste it into my text file again, and we'll just call this the cell selected color. And now I'll click OK, and now as you can see, when I select cells, they get selected in that nice lighter blue color. But the border is yet again kind of a different color than I want. So let's go ahead and jump into the border now. So we'll edit this repository, and I'm actually just going to use the same border that I used last time. So we'll select our inner border color, and I'm going to paste that into the left and the right, and then for our other border color, we'll just paste that into the bottom and the top. And now we'll click OK. As you can see, when I select cells, they no longer have that bright orange border. So now that we know how to work with cells and style our cells, let's go ahead and take a look at a different area of RadScheduler. Here to the top is the header section of RadScheduler. So let's go ahead and modify this. So I'm going to switch to the scheduler header cell element, and as you can see, it contains one element with various different states once again, and I'm going to uncheck the Show Only Applied Repositories button, and let's start by modifying the font color of our cell headers. As you can see, it's currently a bluish color. Well, I actually want that to be a black color, because I'm going to switch the background to a grayish color. So let's start by selecting the default element state, and I'm actually going to expand into the properties for this element. And if we scroll down to the font property, as you can see, it's being applied locally. So I'm actually going to reset the foreground color property, and if we look here at the top now, the black color is now being applied to our cell headers. The next thing I want to do is apply a fill color to the background of this. And if we look here again at our property window, as you can see, draw fill is currently set to false. And so it's actually using a default fill color there. So I'm going to set that to true. And as you can see, when I've set it to true, it turns to the very default grayscale gradient color that is applied when actually no style has been applied to the control at all. So if we look over here inside of our Show Only Applied Repositories section, as you can see, only a border has been applied to our control. So I actually need to apply a fill style to this, and there is actually one that already exists. So I'm going to use the search box, and we'll search for that fill repository that we can use. So it's going to be called Scheduler Header Cell Normal Fill. And if we look here, this is the fill color that should be applied to this particular element. And just to make sure that it hasn't been applied anywhere else, I can actually right click on it, select Find Usages, and this dialog would display all of the controls that that repository has been applied to, but in this case it has not been applied to anything, so nothing shows up here. So I know I can use this with my scheduler header cell element. So I'm actually going to select it, and we'll drag it and we'll drop it onto our default state. As you can see, it's turned to that just kind of a plain blue color. Well, let's go ahead and modify it now so that it fits in better with our theme. So I'm going to jump into Edit the Repository item, and let's go with an Office Glass Rect. So I'll select that, and then for the base background color, let's go ahead and select kind of a bit of a darker color. So as you can see, this is the style that's going to get applied to our headers. So I'll click OK, and here is our new header style. So the final thing that I want to show you is how to style this ruler area here to the left. And to begin styling that, I'm actually going to switch to the Scheduler visual element, and as you can see, one of its, or actually a couple of its cell elements are specific to the ruler. There's the ruler primitive, and then there's the border for the ruler. So let's start by modifying the ruler primitive. So I'm going to clear out my search box, and let's show only applied repositories. And as you can see, a ruler fill has been applied to our ruler. So let's go ahead and modify that. So I'm going to click Edit, and let's go with our base background color. So I'll copy that and paste it into the background color. I'll click OK. And as you can see, it's applied that, but our text is still kind of a light blue color, and we'll need to change that as well. So I'm actually going to jump into the properties for our ruler, and as you can see, the font has been applied locally, and we can once again tell that that is true because of this black outlined square next to our fore color of our font. So I'm actually just going to jump into this, and we'll change it to a black color, and now we can see our text a little bit better on our ruler. The next thing I want to do is modify the border color. It's still kind of a white and blue border, so let's go ahead and exit out of this property window, and I'm going to switch to the ruler border, and let's modify its currently applied repository. So as you can see, the current style applied is the four borders box style, and that means that these colors down here have been applied. So I'm going to go with my border colors that I created earlier. So I'm going to copy my black border, and we'll go ahead and paste that into our right and our top colors. And then I'm going to go with a lighter border for the bottom and left areas of the border. So I'll click OK now. And as you can see, there's my new border that has been applied to the ruler. And now the final thing I want to show you is kind of a thing. It's kind of a gotcha. It's this horizontal blue line right here. We want to change that as well. Well, if we look in our ruler primitive for this and scroll down through it, there's actually not currently an element being listed that applies to that particular item. If we look here at the top, you can actually see that we can define a filter for our property window. So I'm going to click this drop down, and the current filter that's been applied is the element define filter, and this filter basically shows us the most commonly used properties, but since we're kind of accessing a pretty uncommon property that's not really common across all of the controls, we'll need to set this to no filter. And now if we scroll down in this, we should have access to the hour line color, and this is the property we're going to change. So I'm going to jump into this, and let's just change it to a black color, and as you can see, that has now been applied. So now that I've shown you some of the basic things you can do to customize RadScheduler, I'm actually going to go ahead and theme the rest of the RadScheduler, and we'll transition the video to the completed theme. Once there, we'll actually take that completed theme and test it in an actual application that contains the RadScheduler. So as you can see, here is the completed theme for RadScheduler. And as you were probably expecting, it's pretty much a grayscale theme, but if I scroll to the left a little bit, as you can see, today is actually February 2nd, which is a Wednesday, so I've set the RadScheduler to actually highlight today with a blue outline. And something else to note is that RadScheduler actually consists of a couple different views besides this day view. So if I come up to Actions, I can actually select to show month view or show timeline view. Let's go ahead and take a look at month view. So here is the RadScheduler on month view mode, and if you look over here to the left where the elements listing is, we actually have elements that are specific to month view, so we'll need to come here to edit those when we're creating our themes for RadScheduler. To get back to day view, all I need to do is go to Actions, and I'm going to select Reset Control View, and then to get to Timeline View, all I need to do is go to Show Timeline View, and here is Timeline View, and as you can see, it has just a single element, which is different from both the month view and the day view of RadScheduler. So now that we've learned a little bit about these different views inside of Visual Style Builder, since our theme is complete, let's go ahead and take a look at it in an actual application. So I'm going to switch over to Visual Studio, and as you can see here, I have just a basic application setup that contains a RadScheduler and a RadScheduler Navigator. Let's go ahead and apply our theme inside of this application. So I'm actually going to jump over here into my File Explorer, and let's jump into the folder that contains the custom theme that I saved out. So I'm actually just going to drag this, and I'll place it inside of my application, and I need to select it. We're going to change its build action to an embedded resource. Now that I've done that, I'm just going to double click the form and jump straight into the code behind, and we'll set up our program to load the theme package. So I'm going to say theme resolution service dot load package resource, and we're going to specify the location of the resource, which will be test application dot smoke theme dot tssp. And finally, I need to tell the application to use the theme now that it's been loaded. So to do that, I'm going to say theme resolution service dot application theme name equals smoke theme. And now that we've done that, let's go ahead and run the application and take a look at our theme in action. So here is our application, and as you can see, it contains our RadScheduler, and it also contains our Rad scroll bar, which is the control that we themed last time. And if I want to switch the view that I'm currently looking at, I can just come up here to the RadScheduler Navigator, which we have not yet themed, and let's say I want to look at week view. I can just click that, and it switches our RadScheduler over to week view. Then if I want to look at month view, we can look at month view as well, and then finally we can also look at timeline view, and all of these different views have been themed using Visual Style Builder. So if we right click and jump into the Edit Appointment dialog, as you can see, this dialog has not yet been themed, and all of its various controls have not yet been themed either. So in the next video, we're actually going to take a look at creating a theme for this dialog. I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks for watching.